Explosive testimony by a whistleblower on this Prime Minister's billion-dollar green slush fund that's seen $150 million misappropriated and gone to Liberal insiders.
Mr. Speaker, it is shocking but not surprising to see the Conservative ideology in full display, Mr. Speaker. Now what you're saying, Mr. Speaker, is that the Conservative are willing to attack anyone and any institution that would fight for climate change, Mr. Speaker.
Debate in the House this week after a former employee of Sustainable Development Technology Canada appeared at committee alleging a serious and high-level cover-up at the foundation created by the government to fund new clean technologies. We're going to talk about the politics of that with our front bench in just a moment. But first, CTV's Kevin Gallagher is here to explain to us what really happened. What went down, Kevin?
Well, earlier this week, of course, this whistleblower came out and said not only are there financial irregularities, conflict of interest, but that Minister François-Philippe Champagne knew about this sooner than he's letting on, and also work with top bureaucrats within industry and innovation to try and, massage the details of an independent third-party report that the government commissioned. Now, just to rewind here a bit, these whistleblower complaints actually first came forward earlier this year. Sustainable Development Technology Canada says it had a third-party legal team look into this and didn't find anything wrong, but there were some problems with conflict of interest and specifically funding. A lot of what this centers around actually also goes to the former director of the board of SDTC, Annette Verschuren, who is being accused of and has admitted basically that she approved funding that went to a company that she's on the board of, but defends it, saying that, well, this funding went out during COVID and went to other companies. Well, that transaction is also being investigated by the ethics commissioner. The auditor general has said that she wants to look into this as well. And there's also allegations of a toxic workplace, major human resources issues within this fund that really is there to promote green technology and the green sector in Canada. Well, now there's a big microscope looking at whether it's a nice place to work with another third-party legal investigation by McCarthy Tétrault that's been brought on by the government. So, Minister Champagne is saying that he's called these accusations ludicrous. The whistleblower says that he has received secret recordings of top bureaucrats saying that they were talking with the minister and also talking about how to handle this and sort of brush this aside. So it's certainly a story that's not going anywhere and has a lot of layers and a lot of smoke, Vassy.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate you clearing the smoke. Let's bring back the front bench to talk about what Kevin just reported. Elliot Hughes, Gary Marr, and McGrath and Marieke Walsh. Marieke, I'll start with you. In my view, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, kind of at the heart of this is the initial accusation that there's all this money that the government is going to funnel to the kinds of projects that it wants to pursue, but that there's not enough transparency over how the money gets funneled and how much money gets funneled. And this is kind of like a prime example in the opposition's view. And now through a lot of the testimony, we're seeing that there really hasn't been the level of oversight that maybe should be required.
Exactly. I think the whistleblower's number is that the whistleblower said he believes that about 150 million could have been misappropriated or sort of misdistributed. My colleague Jeffrey Jones has been reporting on this quite significantly throughout the last few months. And I think the problem for the government is twofold. Both that the last word is not coming from the law firms they hire to do the review. It's going to come from the Auditor General. And I think that will be significant because the question for the government is timing. Is it the next arrive can? We don't really know where this goes, but it certainly doesn't look good. And given how much they've changed, even the sort of consequences that the people had faced from sort of just a slap on the wrist to now the top people resigning and are gone, it suggests that there is more to it than the government was leading on to begin with. And so how it's managed and what the Auditor General says and how that lines up with what the government says, I think could be one of those issues that comes back to boomerang even worse in a few months or a year.
It also kind of led me to be a bit surprised by the minister's reaction, Anne, because they, have escalated the actions they've taken as a result of what's come to light. I know it's just an allegation that he kind of watered things down, but to dismiss it as basically like climate change denialism, I understand that retort in certain circumstances or in a certain context, but in this one it was a bit confusing.
Well, it's a bit over the top. I mean, one of the things I find interesting about this story is how much it hasn't been a story. It speaks to how much has been going on, because it really has flown under the radar. And it looks like a gigantic mess. And it definitely looks like there are some very unique personalities involved in there, including the ministers. And so, you know, I think that's a little bit of a diversion. It's sort of like, oh, don't you care about the climate? When it is clear that there is something going on there. I don't automatically take the word of the directors and so forth, or automatically take the word of the whistleblower either. So clearly there are lots of personalities, lots of messiness here. It is a story, and it has been allowed in some ways to sort of slide under the radar.
Yeah, to both Anne and Marieka's points, I think the fact that the Auditor General is looking at it, Elliot, has the potential to be very significant.
It does, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, I think we've got a lot to learn. It's clear that there is a lot of tumult and, strange behavior recordings going on at this agency, and I think we're going to find out over the next couple of months. Really, some of the challenges that are there. I would say, though, I mean, I find it a bit odd. I do agree that the answer that the minister gave in question period was a little over the top and trying to skate away from the issue itself at hand. And I don't know why he just doesn't sort of take this on sort of straight ahead. I mean, he came in, there was a problem brought to the minister's office, and it seems like since he's gotten involved, things are happening and things are clearing up. The head of the organization is gone. The chair of the board is gone. He's called in McCarthy Tetro to actually look at the HR practices. He's called in Raymond Chabot, Grant Thornton to look at it as well. He's acting on this. If in fact he found something out that something was going on at this agency, why would he step in and think to support or cover for this person? You know, he's coming in here. Let's show me the facts. Let's make a decision. We've stopped the funding going out externally because we know that there's a lot of questions to answer in this agency. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's bring in some experts to take a look at it, and let's see where we're going to end up. I don't understand why he doesn't sort of come more forward with it and just take it on head on. I think what he's done to date has actually been right on.
Yeah, Elliot makes the point better than I did, Gary. But the reason it confused me was because the government has acknowledged there are issues and done stuff to address it. And plus, the allegation was pretty specific. So you could have, if it weren't true, I would have imagined that the minister would have wanted to be pretty explicit about that. And I think the way in which he answered actually fueled the opposition's critique of the government here.
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible to be critical of an agency of government without necessarily saying that you're a climate change denier. I think that was a very specious comment made by a normally very steady minister. I agree with Anne. There's a big mess that's here. There's more to be learned. In the fullness of time, we'll find out what that is. But as Elliot says, the minister was taking efforts to try and understand what the issues were, trying to deal with them. But I would also point out that both the chair of SDTC and the CEO were estimable individuals, and I hope that they'll have the opportunity in the fullness of time to tell their side of the story as well. It's not just, I have no reason to doubt the whistleblower, but I think it would be important to give them the opportunity to also indicate what has transpired from their perspective as well.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be a lot more committee testimony ahead, and then plus the AG is looking into it. I will leave our discussion there. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to our front bench, Elliot Hughes, Gary Marr, Anne McGrath, and Marieke Walsh.